Welcome to the March 8th, 2018 Planning Commission, and welcome all y'all here. With that, I'll take a roll.
Chairman Berry.
Here.
Vice Chair Latour.
Here.
Commissioner Bynum.
Here.
Commissioner Cox.
Here.
Commissioner Finney.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Haynes.
Here.
Commissioner Leahy.
Here.
Commissioner May. Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Do have a quorum.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion for the minutes for the January 25th meeting, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move the minutes of the last meeting be approved. I'll second.
We have a motion for the January 25th meeting minutes. Those approve, raise your hand. Those who do not approve, okay. Minutes pass. Dana, could you proceed with the consent agenda, please?
Okay, would be accept item A, correct?
Yes.
Consent agenda for the March 8th, 2018 meeting of the Little Rock Planning Commission consists of the following items. We have one item on consent deferral. That's item 3, a revision of the River Market Design Overlay District, sections 36-350 through 367 of the Code of Ordinances. Staff recommends deferral of this item to the April 19th, 2018 agenda. We have two items on consent approval. The first is item 1, file Z5253-A, Scott Field Improvements at Forest Heights Middle School, conditional use permit, located at 5901 Evergreen. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the agenda staff report. Staff also recommends approval of the request to defer sidewalk construction on the H Street perimeter until the next major phase of construction. Item 2, file Z7935-C, Vedant Society of Arkansas revised conditional use permit located at 10224 Nash Lane. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit subject to compliance with the following conditions. First being compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the agenda staff report. Second, that dumpster service hours are to be limited to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Staff recommends approval of the advanced grading request, and staff recommends approval of a waiver of the buffer requirement on the west perimeter of the site due to the presence of a large floodway. That concludes the consent agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Dana. Do any of the commissioners have a conflict of interest that would prevent you from voting on any item in the consent agenda? Okay. That's always good to ask that. With that, I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda, including all staff comments and conditions therein.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion that's been seconded to move to approve the consent agenda. Those approve, raise your hand. Those who do not approve, consent agenda passes. We have one item that's on regular agenda. That's item A. Would you like to proceed with that, Dana?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone else can be excused if they'd like.
Item A is an item that was deferred from your January 25th agenda. Item A is file Z9291, Word of Outreach Prayer Garden Conditional Use Permit, located at 2700 Brown Street. In response to some issues that staff raised, as I think some issues that were raised by the commission and some neighbors that were present, the applicant has submitted some amendments to the request to be able to develop this vacant lot as a prayer garden. I'll just read those into the record if I may. The amendments proposed by the applicant are that fencing and an entrance gate with a lock will be placed around the prayer garden. You were given a copy of a rendering of the proposed construction of the fence, which shows a 6-foot privacy fence on the west perimeter as well as on portions of the north and south perimeter. And then you'll notice there are 2-foot by 2-foot brick columns on the east perimeter and on the remainder of the north and south perimeter. And then between the brick columns would be a 5-foot tall either chain link or decorative metal such as a wrought iron type fence in between the columns. The gate will be located on the east perimeter, which is the Brown Street perimeter. Additionally, the normal hours of operation for the prayer garden are to be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. There will be no additional lighting placed in the prayer garden. There's existing night light from Entergy, which comes on in the night and goes off in the morning, and the applicant feels that'll provide sufficient lighting for the garden. The sound system will only function during the hours the prayer garden is open, and staff would add that no sound is to be heard outside of the confines of the prayer garden. No benches, chairs, etc. will be placed in the garden until a fence with gate and lock has been erected around the garden. The prayer garden will not be available for general public access or use until a fence with a lock has been installed. Until such time, the applicant will keep the grounds of the prayer garden neat and clean and will begin planting trees, shrubs, plants, herbs, and flowers. If any word of outreach students, parents, or staff desire to visit the prayer garden prior to installation of the fence or other site improvements, they'll bring their own chairs with them if they plan to sit. When they leave, they'll take their chairs with them. Staff believes the applicant has addressed the concerns that were previously raised concerning access to the site. Again, no improvements will be placed in or constructed in the prayer garden other than landscaping prior to installation of the fence and gate with lock. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit as amended, subject to the following conditions. First being compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the staff report, and to reiterate, there are to be no improvements placed in or constructed in the prayer garden other than landscaping prior to the erection of a perimeter fence with gate and lock.
Thank you, Dana. Carolyn Smith, the applicant, would you like to approach the lectern? There's no reason for you to do a formal presentation today. We have a limit of 10 minutes to either side. I doubt if we use that up. And everyone's heard, for the record, your agreements to do different things. We only have one card in opposition. You can reserve your time later to make a response to this
Yes,
individual, if that's okay.
I'll do that.
Okay, good. Donald Mitchell.
How you all doing this evening? I'm opposed to that prayer garden. One thing it behooves me is that they have a church that's about 3 blocks away that, you know, would be a great place for them to congregate, and also for people who want to worship the Lord and everything in a good setting and safe setting. I just think that it would be more useful as a house for more improvement than having more people congregating there. That's just the way I see it. So, yeah, I mean, when you got a church, I just don't see we should have that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Applicant? Anything else you can add or clarify?
Just to address his concern, it's the essence of our ministry, sir. It's not just the in-house of our church congregation, but we've been planted in a community that when we first moved there was very high in crime, with gang violence, with prostitution, drug, and even the building that we acquired had been vandalized. When we went inside of that building, it had mattresses in there, condoms were there, syringes were there. It was obvious that the community was debilitated by such lifestyles, and we have been put there to make a difference. So if we're just sheltered in the 4 walls of our church building, the impact of the community having opportunity to see something that can encourage them to want to change would not be there. That's the reason why we have the outreach. Our name is Word of Outreach. We're out in the community reaching out with the Word of God. So our only reason for being there is to be light and salt into the community and make a difference. That community has changed tremendously since the time we moved there in 1988. And we started our Christian Academy in 1989. And we're yet moving on with that type of ministry to impact in-house and outside. So the outreach of the prayer garden is to make a difference in the overall community. And one of the things that really challenges me most of all is the city. We've put parks in a lot of different places, and they don't require fencings. And a lot of things have happened in a lot of those parks because there's no one there to spiritually give oversight to it, to even share with the people that would come. We intend to be there. This property was a dope house, and it was owned by some people that once the dope dealer was arrested and went to jail, the house was burned down, and before we knew it, it was in our name. We lost it 3 times for taxes, and we didn't realize that nonprofit had to pay taxes, and when we found out that we had lost that property, the 3rd time is when I understood that if we used it for the purpose of our ministry, which is the vision, the missions, and the goals of Christians as to be evangelistic outreach, then we would be free of taxes. And so that's when the Lord inspired me to put a prayer garden there. And it's really a park with beautiful plants and trees and shrubberies. And the children from our school, which are not just part of our church, would be able to go into that place, as well as anybody who's walking around. And the people in the community have had a lot of expressions since they've seen us out there working, that to them, it's a good thing.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, questions, observations, comments? Scott?
Do I need to stay up here?
You don't have to unless he has a question of you.
Yeah, and I think you answered it. So the prayer garden is open to the public. So if anyone in the neighborhood or whatever wanted to stop by and spend time there, that's open to them.
We will be spending a lot of time there ourselves.
Okay.
For the purpose of greeting people that would come. That's not part of our ministry. So yes, we will be there, and anybody is welcome to come. But as it's been concerned for our neighbors, that our presence would make a difference because we believe in presence power. There's power when people who have certain things operating in their lives are there. So we will be there, but at 8 o'clock it will be locked and nobody will be able to come in. But there will be benches and chairs there, nice environment. We invite you to come. Prayerfully, we'll have a open house and get the mayor to come and talk about all the great things that are happening in the hood, because we're doing good in the hood, turning it back into a neighborhood.
I tell you what, my favorite cookies are oatmeal raisin.
We'll make sure they're there.
Absolutely.
All right, Commissioner Latour.
Is this,
Yes, sir.
is this just a picture of what it might look like, or do you has somebody actually?
Somebody has already started donating bricks. If you look behind our little building, our 8x8 square building there are piles of bricks that already been there. So someone is going to help put those brick columns together. And then we're going to put, whether, the funds come, chain link, black chain link, or metal fencing between those columns. And then the back wall will be privacy, just as you see there. And I think it'd be more economical to use that metal and some wood to beautify it on that level. And yeah, we want to make it look just like that. It's going to be beautiful. I mean,
my other question is, there was some discussion of cameras at the last meeting.
no cameras.
Okay.
We won't have any cameras there. We won't need any cameras. Another thing, we call our place Chanel in the Hood.
Do what?
Chanel in the Hood. Chanel, you know what Chanel is?
I do, yeah.
Okay, what we're doing on Asher Avenue between Asher and Roosevelt on Brown Street, you come down there and look and see, it's going to be like Chanel in the Hood.
All right.
Okay. Commissioners, other questions? Mr. Mitchell?
I'd like to rebuttal on that. I really would. Got me?
Yeah, that's okay. Come on up. We got some time.
I like that Dom Perignon display that she gave y'all, but in actuality, it takes forever for them to get things done because, like she said, she waits on donations. But while she's waiting on donations, just sitting there. There's no fence there. The shrubbery that they say they put out, I must have overlooked it because I live a block up from it. And I haven't seen it yet. So she said the bricks, yeah, they may have about 20 bricks right here that they donated, and it just takes forever. What she's talking about, it may take forever for her to do that.
Well, let me ask this. You understood when staff read that she cannot make any improvements to the garden, and the garden can't be open until she secures it, perimeter with it fits.
Okay.
You understand that?
Okay, well, I mean,
So even if it's a slow go, she still has to do the security before she does
Okay.
anything else.
okay. But with that being a slow goal and that property is open there, who's to say that it won't bring back the people that we're trying to keep out? We know we like religion.
No,
excuse
that's
me.
okay. We're all. I think we're all about done here.
Okay?
Yes.
So who's to say that they won't come back to this? We're trying to build this and not saying that what my picture of it looked like, I already have it.
Yeah.
See, I'm not saying what I'm trying to do. It's done, and all I want to do is just help continue to improve the neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Now I don't want to get into a food fight, so it's not necessary to rebut everything that's said. All right. If we don't have any other comments or questions,
I got a question too.
Commissioner Leahy.
You knew I would. I have a little concern about the hours of operation. Now, I don't know how many people get up before 8 o'clock. A lot of them do, but they're staying open till 8 p.m. now. And the coming time when the government screws around with their time and gets it all jiggled up, it'll still be daylight. But when you go back to normal time, it's going to be dark about 6 o'clock. And I think you'd be better served, and at least you'd have my support if you changed the time on it to dark and have everyone out of there and gone when it's dark.
You don't have to amend your application. That's just a commissioner's
Well, we are in prayer every morning, Monday through Fridays at 6 a.m. And I thought that 8 o'clock would give us time from our transition from our prayer meeting to get to the Throne of Grace Prayer Garden to open up. And 8 to 8 was just good numbers because 8 means new beginnings. But we'll willingly adjust that for having your favor. That's no problem. The idea of 8 to 8 can be changed. That's no issue. We don't mind changing that.
Well, let's just ask other commissioners how y'all feel about that. Is it?
I'm fine with 8 to 8 too. I don't see any problem with that.
So.
I'll be on duck. I'd go 8 to sundown, whatever that is.
So whatever sundown is, that means when the sun goes down, the gates are locked. Yes, sir. That's no problem. And if
excuse me, Chairman Barry?
Yes,
sir. Currently, the application is from 8 to 8, and right now, we need to hear it on the application as
Okay,
is,
that's
or
fine.
we need to
That's
choose
okay.
to amend the application.
okay.
She can amend the application, but we can't.
Yes, Commissioner.
I have a question, staff. What hours of operation are our normal city parks?
I don't know what the opening hours are, but they do have closing hours, and usually it's dark when they close the city parks.
Okay.
The application is to 8 o'clock. I just simply want to throw in there, please do not put something in there like closing at sunlight or dark, because that changes every day, and that is impossible for us to be able to regulate that. We're comfortable with 8 to 8 as staff.
Okay. Other commissioners or a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of this item, including all staff comments and conditions therein.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion to approve this item. It's been seconded. Those approve the application as written with recommendations, raise your hand. Those who do not approve, application passes. Did you get a? No. Okay. That was the only regular item. We are, of course, open for citizens' communications about any other things that may be on your mind. If not, we are adjourned.